Hey, Woodman Park School, Ms. Lapierre here. Last week's remote assignment was to learn a little bit about woodwind instruments. I talked about the members of that family, how they make noise, and played the ones that I had at home with me. This week I'm going to be talking about a different family. I'm going to be talking about a family called the brass family. The brass family, they look more like each other than the woodwind family does, but to me, they look also very, very different from each other. Remember that we put instruments in families based on how they make noise, and every member of the brass family has a mouthpiece that looks kind of like this. And if you're playing a brass instrument, you have to vibrate your lips into the mouthpiece, and it'll sound kind of like this. Members of the brass family include the trumpet, the trombone, those you've seen kids at Woodman Park School play or maybe you are a person who plays one of those instruments. We also have the French horn and the tuba. The tuba is really, really big. You also might see something called a baritone or a euphonium sometimes. That's sometimes something that you see kids play at the middle school and on up. And yeah, the tuba is so big that it sits on your lap, or there's a version for marching that wraps around you. That one's called a sousaphone. But all of them have mouthpieces like this to make sound on their instrument. So the first brass instrument I have to share with you today is called a trumpet. And I should have made sure that my valves were moving. Yeah, see, this one likes to stick. It's kind of annoying. There we go. All right. It's really easy to put a trumpet together. Take the mouthpiece. This part here is called the lead pipe. You just put that in. So it's easy to put it together. It's a little tricky when fourth graders learn how to hold this the first time because there's this hook here that kids always want to put their fingers in. I don't know why, I think it's just so you could hold on to it if you're marching with this instrument, or if you need to turn a page really, really quickly, it kind of secures it, but you really want this finger to sit on top. There are 3 things that go up and down. These are not called keys, they are called valves. And there's different valve combinations that you can press to play different notes. So this would be C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So, play a little of it. You might have noticed that 3 of the notes that I just played had the same valve combination. I didn't move any of the valves. You can, on a brass instrument, play different notes by changing how fast the air is coming out of you. When you're changing how fast the air is going, you're changing the wavelength. The other way that you can change, because that plays only a certain amount of notes, and that's how, I forgot to mention this as a brass instrument, but that's how a bugle would work. So if you're somewhere where you would hear bugle calls, a bugle doesn't have any valves at all. So you can play some songs just with the notes that you can play without moving valves. That's called the harmonic series. You can do that. By the way, that was called taps. You hear that a lot, especially with the military. So you can play some songs, but you're kind of limited. You can't play too many notes if the tube is only one length. So to change the length of the tube between longer, which makes lower notes, and shorter, which makes higher notes, you press different valves. And on the inside of a valve, let me take it apart for you. On the inside of each of these valves, there's a wide part at the bottom that has holes. And when the holes are when this is back inside the trumpet, when the holes are up or down, sometimes it blocks where the air can get through or cannot, and it makes it so like maybe the air goes through this part of the tube or maybe it doesn't. The easiest place I think to see it is here on this second valve. If I take this out, you can see with the valve up, if you look way in here, if I press this valve down, you can see the holes open up, and now this one's completely covered, so air can't come through this little tiny tube. So I'll show you once more. See how it's like the valve is blocking it now, but if I press it down, it opens up. So that's the trumpet, and kids will tell you that it's also super fun to clean it because all there is this little valve here. You open it up and sometimes condensation. It's absolutely just condensation. Condensation just comes right out. You might see trumpet in bands like we have at Whitman Park School, but you also see trumpets in marching bands. You see them in jazz bands. Sometimes you hear them on pop songs. But so I always play the same song on all of the instruments, Star Wars for trumpet. The other brass instrument I have to share with you guys today is called a trombone. It is bigger than a trumpet, and with my trombone, I have a mouthpiece that's a little bit bigger, so it's going to make kind of a lower sound. It sounds like this. So if that sounded like a duck to you, you are absolutely right. It sounds like a duck, nothing else. Here, I'll do it again. So the mouthpiece on the trombone and the mouthpiece on the trumpet. You can see that they are different sizes. If I had a tuba, it would even be bigger than this and make a much lower duck sound. Absolutely, much lower duck sound. Trombone is pretty easy to figure out how the tube works because the air starts here and then goes all the way down this part here, all the way around, back up, and back down. And this is the shortest. This part here, it slides, so it's called the slide. Slides out and in. This is the shortest that the tube can go, and it goes all the way. I'll show you once again. If air starts here, it goes down, all the way around past the water key, all the way up and around and out to this part, which is called the bell. So this is as short as the tube can get. And just like the trumpet, I can change what note I'm playing based on what I'm doing with my air. But I can also change my sound by changing how far out the slide is. I heard that this was in some kind of video game. I'll play it again. It's actually not so hard to do on trombone. Another fun thing to do on the trombone is you can make it sound kind of like a motor roaming away. So that's kind of fun sometimes. Hopefully that totally didn't blast your speakers. But the trombone can play actual songs too. Before I go, I do want to share a song with you It was made famous by a famous trumpet player. He was a jazz trumpet player named Louis Armstrong. We've got a picture of him right here. And this book is published by Athenaeum Books for Young Children. It is by George David Weiss and Bob Thiel, and it is illustrated by Ashley Bryan. Louis Armstrong was, as I said, he was a famous trumpet player, but he was also a famous jazz singer. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, a bright blessed day, the dark sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? Louis Armstrong's nickname was Satchmo. It's spelled, I think it's backwards here, but S-A-T-C-H-M-O, Satchmo the Great. They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry. I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Friends, stay safe and stay healthy and keep learning.